gosh. So I also want to introduce Sikandar Bhai. He's the national promoter of Phil Perry and this tour going on. Seattle's the second city. And I will allow you guys to introduce yourselves. You probably know Surpriya ji and Pankaj ji. If you just want to give a quick word before we start some Q&A.
You want me to say something?
Please.
Well, we are happy to be in the USA and in Seattle for performance tomorrow. And we look forward to whatever questions you have to ask. It's a beautiful city and warm people around us. So it's wonderful to see a lot of interesting faces out here. So we are looking forward to questions being asked, and we're here to answer whatever we possibly can. And we'll try and stay, but a request would be to stay around tomorrow's work. That's supposed to happen now. This would be very kind on your part. Thank you. We are ready for the press conference.
Well, I found Seattle to be a very, very beautiful place. Really, I was quite taken in by the trees and the colors and things, and I'm sure the people here are as colorful and as beautiful as the city itself. And we're really looking forward to this show tomorrow. And I find our hosts who have brought us here, Christine and her whole group, is really wonderful. I mean, we've really had a wonderful 2 days here with them, and hope that tomorrow will be the, what is it, the cherry on the icing? Thank you.
Okay.
Question? Yeah.
That means the stage is all yours. One request, please do put your phone on either silent or vibration, because it doesn't sound appropriate. So please do that, and the stage is yours.
You want to raise your hand?
They're bringing a different microphone. Who want to be the first one?
Well, we can try that.
Okay, it's all you.
Well, it's a small room. I think we can manage this way. So you are especially Pankaj, you have been the most intense actor we have seen. Not only the movies, even on TV. Right from Karamchand to Pungiri Lal Ke Haseen Sapne. I don't know how many times I use it.
Office, I would say.
So the office.
Not Pungiri Lal. I was not a part of that.
Okay, my mistake. Office. I'm sorry. So the question is, what's your favorite movie? What is that you are particularly very fond of? Your own and otherwise.
Frankly, it's a very very often asked question to me by most journalists, and it's a most difficult question to answer, because as I say, that it's very difficult for you to find out which of your children is your favorite. You love all of them. So for me, my love is there for all the work that I have done. I would rather be known as an actor with the sum total of the substance of work that I have done, instead of a single individual performance, because I believe that what tends to happen is that a certain performance might have been appreciated more by the audiences or the critics. Therefore, you yourself also at times might start feeling that, well, this is the best work of mine, which is actually not true. Because you might have done something even better, which may not have been recognized to that extent by the audiences and the critics. And at the end of the day, you would like to see the work that you've done over 40 years to be recognized as a total work, and not an individual one or two performances that you can possibly talk about. So I'd request that, for me it's a very difficult choice, but all of you can make your own choices and pinpoint to me, which would be a wonderful experience for me.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I think Jani Vido Yaro was
Yeah.
my favorite, and I think it was one of your earliest films.
That's right, yes.
And I still remember it after all those years.
Thank
And
you.
Surpriya, Bazaar.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, that was such touching performance. And I'm turning senile, but I still remember that.
No, you're not turning senile, and I remember it too, so it's okay.
Yeah.
No, I think, as Pankaj said, that basically there are so many performances. You've put in your best in almost all the work that you want to do. And some of it just hits the audience better than the others. That's the only thing. And I, as an actor, and I'm sure Pankaj, you also must be feeling that we have a lot of work that we want to do. So hopefully the best will come. It's still to come. And that's what we are looking forward to.
Next person.
I just wanted to, I've heard a little bit about this. I just wanted to know, what was your frame of mind when you wrote this? What were you thinking? What was emphasized? What was going through your mind at that time?
I think, frankly, this was written about 20 years back.
2 decades.
Yeah.
Almost 2 decades, yeah.
Yeah. So, I felt the need to write about women. And a lot was starting to be written about, or starting to be talked about a girl child. But nobody was talking about the women who have already passed that age and have and exist in our society, which have been put in the position of mothers and grandmothers, and in a way have lost their identity other than these names that were given to them or relationships that were given to them. So it came as an interesting thought to me that if I can think of something which is related to an older woman, which all of us, when we hear it, will be able to relate to that particular character, because somewhere we'll see maybe an aunt of ours, a mother of ours, a grandmother of somebody or of our own, and look through life from her eyes and how she's surrounded with her circumstance and how she learns, frankly, quite accidentally, to cope with it and recognize her own birth, which sort of she missed out on all the years that she had lived by. So I suppose it was not anything, I mean, it was more to do with the thought of writing about an older woman rather than anything else. And it also fascinated me that a whole lot of women, especially in the afternoons, in India, I'm talking about, in India, in the afternoons are alone, because most people have gone out to work, and especially those who live in larger houses or in bigger cities, etc., even in smaller towns, people of the house have gone out and they're all alone in their whatever environment they're living in. And how that loneliness sort of makes them scared, makes them not relate to anything else but themselves and their sense of loneliness. And how through this loneliness, this particular woman that we talk about finds a way out and a sense of recognition for herself in life, is what the story is all about. And it also has, because it reflects life, it talks about people around her, it talks about her environment, it talks about, so there will be various levels of emotions that will happen. There will be some level of humor that will happen in the storytelling that's supposed to happen.
And can I continue one more?
Yes, please.
As you said, it was written 2 decades ago. Why did you feel the need to take it out after all these years, do it now, at this particular time? Was the message you're trying to convey, or is it something?
No, I'll be very straight up about that. See, when we started and we decided that we are going to start a theatre group of our own, and I was going to go back on stage after 2 decades, we were looking at what would be the simplest and the easiest thing to go with, where we don't have to take permission from somebody to give rights to us, to start with. Secondly, we don't need a large star cast. Thirdly, it's a novel idea which we are trying to come up with, where you have not crammed up the dialogues and you're not trying to mono-act some 20 people on stage, but as a writer, you are reading out your own material. Because I also happen to be an actor, Therefore, I am narrating it as an actor and writer to my audiences, which we thought was a very novel idea. And we were apprehensive about it initially when we started off, but with God's grace, it worked very well wherever we performed in India and in even Dubai, etc. So the idea behind it was to come up with something which is simple, something for which you don't have to take permissions, you have complete control on, and the next one also I wanted to test, because I hadn't been on stage for a couple of decades. I wanted to test the language that I've used in this particular thing, whether that language still the audiences relates to, whether this language still exists for our youngsters to relate to, for the people who were connected to any kind of theatre, film language 20 years back, 30 years back. Is it still workable for them? And to my surprise, even in a city like Bombay, most of the youngsters very easily related to it. They didn't find any problem about it. I suppose it's more to do with the emotion of the story, or the storytelling itself, or the characters within that, which made it simpler for them to understand the whole thing. These were basically very simple reasons to, like, promoters find it very easy to bring it to USA because we are a small group and it doesn't have big sets, and it's just a single person narrating a story, and it's also something different which has probably not happened. I suppose if tomorrow you come and see the show, you would realize that there's a bit of theatre in it, there's a bit of story reading in this, there's a bit of performance in this, everything put together. That's how this. But the sum total of the experience is the experience of a novella reading on stage. That's what the experience is supposed to be.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome.
Sir, आपने बहुत you've done great quality work both in films and theatre, and there's a wide variety of work you've done over time. And I guess you must have heard this question a lot, but what do you find personally ज़्यादा अच्छा क्या लगता है, theatre or films? What's more fulfilling?
It is a very difficult question. Okay? See, both the mediums have their own pluses and negatives. Like, I wouldn't say negatives, but I would say advantages of both the mediums are different. For instance, theatre, there is a live audience. Now, the feeling of that live audience is very, very different as compared to the feeling of a camera. But having said that, as an actor or as a performer, your relationship with your work is the same, which means you're prepping towards a given character. Or for instance, if tomorrow we were supposed to shoot a novella reading of Dopehri, which is going to happen tomorrow, if supposing we wanted to put 5 cameras and shoot it and put it together, the work done towards your job will be the same. It will not be any less. In camera, what is more difficult is that your performance has to be, you have to continue to be at the same level for a long period of time. And you have to just rehearse with yourself. Whereas in theatre, you get those 1 or 2 or 3 months to rehearse with set of people to be able to give a performance. On the other hand, once the play is on, then there is no retake. But whereas in a film, in case you have made a mistake, you can always go back and shoot it again. So there are advantages and disadvantages of both the mediums. I love both of them. I'll be honest with you. I think both of them have their advantages, and whenever you're working in a given medium, you should try and milk the advantages to your benefit.
And I guess your love shows in your work.
Oh yes, I do. Yes.
So I'm not a journalist, but I'm a big fan, and my husband, he also wanted to be here, but he's working, so he's constantly texting me that ask them this, how are they? So I think we'll be there tomorrow. So
Thank
my
you.
question, sir, is that we live in the US, and I came here after I got married. So before, like when I was in India, I never thought about how my parents would feel later on in life, but yeah, I'm getting a little emotional. So with this theme, I think that it's a very relevant theme.
Yes, it is, especially for non-resident Asians.
Yeah.
They will definitely relate, because most of us who are living here will have left a parent back home. You know, whether it's a mother, father, or in-laws, or whoever. We have not emphasized on that in this story, but we have touched upon it. Yes, there is a sense of there is this sense of that this woman is left alone with the son having gone abroad. So that sense is there in this story. So I suppose it will be more relatable for people working here and staying here. That's what is my hope.
Yeah, we can, stay more in touch with our parents or whosoever is left alone.
Sure.
And this is the second part of the question, that you wrote it 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But now, I think in your life also, you must be in a stage, like you also have
Children,
kids.
yes.
So do you also think about this?
Oh yes,
Can
oh
you
yes.
relate more to it now?
I can't say that, but what I can say is that I'd say once you hear the story tomorrow, you'll understand where we are coming from vis-a-vis this given story. But as I would say somebody who could think like this, we are more aware of how things are, and we are more aware that children need to be on their own and they need to move on in life, and we have developed those things within ourselves to be able to understand the modernity of today's life. So we have sort of understood that, and somewhere both Surpriya and I keep talking to each other about the fact that we need to be together, we need to look after each other, and children need to move on. They must have their own lives. I mean, like Gibran says that they are born of you, but not for you. You know, so they'll move on in life. They are the arrows that have been shot out of the bows that you are. So things like that. I mean, which we need to sort of understand that and live with it, and hope that whatever time they can find to spend with you, they are able to do so. At the same time, ensure that you do something for which you don't feel that level of loneliness, and you involve yourself in something in life which keeps you busy and keeps you, I would say, as long as you are alive, actually alive.
No, I would want to add to this that I think all of us, when you start off a life together, when you start off your life, you have a very different perspective towards things. And when you reach on a other side of the fence, closer and closer, you start having a very different perspective. But this story it means a lot. It works a lot to me at any stage, because both the perspectives, whether you are an older person or you are a younger person, because all of us are aware that someday this stage is going to come to us. So that's what I think completely keeps it very recent, even contemporary, even after so much, of time, because it's not something that will go away.
There's one thing I want to say to sort of, in a way, clarify this for all of you and or those who are going to write about it or talk about it. It is a story of an old woman, but it is dealt with a level of entertainment.
Yes.
We have seen to it that it's not a reading, or it's not a story when you hear it that you only sob.
No.
It's a story which has many shades of life, and there's plenty of humor in it. There's plenty of, by humor, when I say entertainment, I don't mean surface level entertainment. I mean the kind of life that we lead in an everyday sense. In that life, we have various levels of emotions, various levels of humor, various levels of various kinds of feelings that we come across. We have tried to reflect as much as possible within the structure of the storytelling, but primarily to be emphasized that this is a dramatic reading which is set out on a stage in a sense of a theatre performance in front of an audience. That's what Toperi is all about. Pleasure.
So I'm curious, what was it like working together for both of you on this, and did that relationship, professional, personal relationship, how did it impact the evolution of the final product, basically?
Why was I given the mic immediately?
Because you're the boss.
Good move.
Yeah,
No, she's the producer.
She's the producer.
So she need to answer first, and then I can.
So that's when the actor comes out.
Well, we have worked before together, and we have run a company for about 4 years, doing television together. And I think we've had a great time working together. So it was always something that we've wanted to do, but television in India took a very different turn, so we couldn't get into that because that was not something that we wanted to do. So there was a gap in the middle when we were working individually, and now again, when we got this opportunity, we wanted to come back together and work on this. And honestly, as actors also, we enjoy working together, and as him being the director, I being the producer, I really enjoy working because I'm the producer. See? That's the only time I'm the boss. So that is, but saying that, I mean, really, it's really been a great time that one has had working with him. Also, I've learned a lot about acting, about everything from him. He's such a, I don't know, what?
No, she's just being too kind. All that I'm saying is, there's a certain understanding that we have, apart from being husband and wife, as two creative people. So there's an understanding that exists between us, which helps us to complement each other. And frankly speaking, when I take the position of an actor or a director especially, I know that creatively I can completely depend on her. And I know that she completely understands as to what is required by me and what will be the needs of a given production and how it needs to be handled. And she knows where I am very sensitive. She knows where I get upset. She knows where I am cool, where I am absolutely fine. So she, apart from the physicality of being a producer, she's also a very sensitive producer because she happens to be my wife and a creative person and an actress in her own right. So it's a slightly rare combination to have, but I'm fortunate to have somebody like that with me. And she generally takes care of me personally, both as a person, as an actor, as a creative person, as she's like the head of the company. Because we have worked together and we have had that experience for about 4 to 5 years, so it comes quite naturally to her now, and it comes quite naturally to me that I completely give everything to her, and I depend completely on her, which allows me a lot of space and comfort. So, so from that point of view, I think the relationship works rather well with God's grace. Yeah.
And if we have any other problems between the two of us, we have our children to look after that. So they handle us, as they say. And both my younger son and our younger son and our daughter, both of them are working quite in a quite big way in Theatron, and they'll be acting very soon in Theatron also. But just now they're working with us. So it's like I think we are working pretty good together. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Your name is very interesting of the play. What made you come up with that name?
Dupari.
Yes.
I just mentioned that the thing that occurred to me initially was that the older women who stay back at home when everybody is gone out, the afternoons are actually the most boring on one hand and the most scary part for them, because in the morning a lot of morning chores in the house need to be looked after, etc. Then there is a gap where nothing is happening. The world around is completely quiet for them because everybody's out from their respective houses, etc. And then comes the time when the night falls, and by the time the people of the house come back, in case there are people in the house. If there are not, then night becomes another sense of scare. That's one physical reason for this. Another is that the age of the woman is 65 years in the story. I look upon it as the afternoon of life, and not evening or night. I suppose 65 is afternoon. I'm approaching it. So I was sensitive about 20 years back also, that I better call it the afternoon and not the evening or late evening or night. So that's the reason why Dupahari is the name.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
So Pankaj, the protagonist of the story is this older woman, right?
Yes.
It's a woman.
Yeah.
And there is Surpriya sitting on your right.
Yeah.
Why did you not consider Surpriya playing that part, or in some ways?
Well, we have always wanted to make a film on this, and she has been after my life for last 4 years to play this part, and I have refused it outright, simply because she looks too young. I mean,
I never knew looking young was such a problem.
but she genuinely looks young, and she has hardly any wrinkles on her face. I mean, what I imagine of this woman, once you hear the story tomorrow, you would understand that you need a certain kind of person. That's one. Second is, the entire family sat down together and decided whether we should make a play out of this, or should it remain like a dramatic reading, as was done 20 years back at that time. And everybody assertively told me that we don't want a play made out of this. Once you will hear the story, you will understand, because there's a slightly literary value to the whole thing. And that will sort of get out if we make a play out of it. Well, someday we might be able to do so also as an experiment. But everybody felt that this is a novel way of coming up with the story. It could also happen that one person sort of tries to remember the entire 80 pages and comes out and narrates it like kimono acting or something, which we thought was a very amateurish way of looking at it. So we wanted a kind of combination of a theatre experience with a literary experience. These were two combinations that we wanted to come out with this, and that's what is the reason why we made it into the way we have made it just now. Yeah.
Can I ask one more?
Yeah, sure, please.
Just changing the topic a little. Going back to the early days,
Yeah.
and this question is to both of you, how did you get started and what were the struggling years like?
I think I'll let Surpriya talk about it first.
I really didn't want to be an actress. I was studying to be a dancer, and I was doing my graduation with Bharatanatyam as my main subject. And my mother was an actress, so she had done a play when she was young, and she thought that everybody asked her to revive that play. My sister, Ratna Pathak, she was an actress also. So everybody thought, that she would do it with Ratna, because I had no intentions of, and nobody knew I was there. Nobody knew that Deenaben had another daughter. So she said, no, if I do it, I do it with Surpriya and nobody else. And it just came out of the blue, and then I did that, and it worked very nicely. And it was a kind of song and dance thing, so I was interested because there was dance, and it worked very well. And then I lost my father, so then it also came to a point of survival in a way, and a little bit of adding of all that. So things just started working. So it came into that kind of thing where one thing came and the other thing came, and then I got Kalyug, and then I got Bazaar, and then so it just moved like that. So I was not really into how the struggle was, but saying that after one had already done 2 or 3 films, then you become an actress, that's your profession. Then it became very difficult, because then it becomes a matter, in those times there was only film or stage that we had where we could perform, and stage wouldn't give us any money, and films were just a handful. So whatever we would get would be, we would really thrive to get it, and that was our passion. Our passion was that we had to work so hard to be able to just stay afloat, because there was no options that we had in those days. And that's how it just went on. And then we got into a very, very interesting era of television, which I think kind of settled a lot of things for us. Now, of course, it's very different. That was my struggle.
Mine is very cliched. You might have read it about a lot of actors. I was always an actor. When I was 3 years, my mother was my first teacher. We were really 2 years or 2.5 years old when she would gather all the children in places around and would make us do small little stuff, 2-minute, 3-minute kind of small skits. That sort of graduated into being an actor in school plays, and then becoming secretary of the Dramatic Society in college. And then suddenly, when I was about 10 or 11 years of age, it's a bit funny though, at about 11 years of age, when I had a younger brother who, when he became a year old, all of us were sent to studios to get a picture clicked. So when I saw my picture, I thought I was damn good looking. And I thought I should be in films, because I was always interested in acting. And I thought I looked damn good. So that's how it got set in my head, though I was just about 11 at that time. And by the time I turned 18, I was rather passionate about acting. And though I didn't know what actually acting was all about, it was all an influence of Hindi films. And then finally, when I decided to become an actor, I told my mother, and she started crying because she thought that I'm ruining myself. But my father was a visionary. And he heard me and he said, I'm very proud of my son that at such a young age of 18 years of age, he's decided what he wants to do in life. But he told me that check out for yourself whether you have the talent to be an actor, or is it only the glamour of the film industry which is attracting you? Which I thought was very valid, because he was a very logical man. And so I applied in the Film Institute and the National School of Drama. Actually, he found out for me a place called National School of Drama, where I applied and I was selected as an actor. And my prayer at that time to God was that even if I get rejected in screen test, select me in audition, because that will prove that I have the ability as an actor. And so I got selected in National School of Drama, and then I trained myself there. And for me, after that the struggle began. Because once I got trained as an actor, it was an expo year for me, because I was 19 years of age when I joined National School of Drama, completely an impressionable age, youth on my side and desire to learn. And we had this great teacher called Mr. Al-Qazi, who was heading the staff at that time in National School of Drama. So the best years of my life were those 3 years when I sort of learned there. And then when I stepped out, the struggle actually began then. And since then it's been on. It's really been on.
Yes.
Because initial years, a whole lot of theatre for about 15 years, and then one break in television, and then the great struggle not to get typecast. You know, once I did Karan and everybody wanted me to play a detective, not to play a detective, and play other different kinds of parts. Was a great struggle. Then to become a part of Hindi cinema was another struggle. And the kind of cinema that I wanted to be a part of, not just about anything, but sensible cinema. So cinema which, some of the roles that you sort of asked me a question about, that some of the roles that people can talk about, some of the films that people can talk about, and not just something which becomes a number on a box office, but stays in the minds of the audiences. But I must say that that's where the struggle started, but it's been on, and it's on even today. For an actor, it's never easy, because once a performance is done, it's that part of life that is over. You are in struggle once again, all over again. And it's a matter of whether you will get an opportunity to do another film, or another production as an actor on stage or not, whether you'll get theatres today, whether directors will be looking at you today. Do they have stories of your age group? Are they wanting to cast you in them? Because in the same age group there might be 20 actors who the director can look at and say, if not this, then this, then this, then this. Why would they come to you? So you have to keep yourself alive and kicking, and at the best of your abilities all the time, both physically, mentally, and in terms of your abilities to perform, to be able to get more work. And if you do that, then if you're blessed and destiny is on your side, you're still in work. If you're not, if you just go back for 2 minutes into last 10, 15 years of how many actors have disappeared, from stars to some serious actors, how they have sort of started diminishing from the horizon. It's a very scary situation. But as in all fields, I would say that you should keep your neck up and give your best and be honest, and don't give up the struggle. So the struggle is still on, but this is how, in a nutshell, one is saying that the journey from the childhood to today has happened, and because of some reason we are all sitting here and sharing this together.
How many more questions can we take?
If you give me a cup of tea which is without sugar, then I can maybe take another 5-6 questions. I don't have an issue. If there are no questions, then I can enjoy that tea just like that.
We do have it.
Thank you.
So there were questions before about, what were your favorite roles and such. I'm curious about, every role that you play, you, the person who you are and the actor, you bring something to that role. But are there characters that you've played that have changed you in any way, as a person and actor?
One thing I want to say, I don't think, two things, not one. One character that I played in a television series called Office. I played a common man. It was a kind of representative characterization, which one dealt with it. And we did about 250 episodes of that, and I was playing that common man in that. After about 100 episodes, I was devastated. I wanted to give that up every day because I felt the humiliation that the common man was going through started reaching me as a person. I think it sort of got balanced because right in the middle of that, I got a film like Makbool, which was a complete contrast to what I was doing in Office. So which sort of allowed me to throw myself completely into that character and to be able to work on a completely different kind of character as compared to what I was doing in Office. That's one role that sort of affected me from that point of view. And eventually, even though my director said that we can carry on for years, after about 220, 230 episodes, I put my hands up and I said, I'm not doing it. This is it. Also, creatively, it had come to an end, to be honest.
No, I think also actually the character was such that he's being pushed around all the time in every episode. He was really being pushed around as the common man. Pankaj actually started feeling that he's down in the dumps.
And
he was depressed. I mean, he was really upset with his whole situation.
And I was a part of it for about 3.5 years. So
yeah.
That sort of took a toll. Another thing which I would say is not a role that affected us both me and Surpriya. When we opened a television company, we made a series and a lot of people did a lot of wrong to us, etc., etc. And we swore that we'll never work with them, and we take it out, one day we show it to them, all that happened to us. And then somebody came to us and asked us to make a series on sayings of Jesus Christ, which was a series which was for the main Doordarshan. Basically sayings, there would be one saying which you construct a story around it, you shoot that story, which becomes like a fiction short story, 20 minutes or 25 minutes something, and you tell that story to the audience, and at the end of the story, the gist of what he said would come across. That was the kind of thing. And the very first story that we picked up was, if you do not pardon, he shall not pardon you. Now this was like, we suddenly realized, what are we talking about? What are we saying that I will not work with this guy, I show it to him and they have done this, etc. That's a change that came in us for sure. And that one, making of that one series, frankly taught us a lot in terms of how to look upon life, how to look at things, etc. Anything else that you can think of? To me, these were two major factors. I mean, I'm sure that some of the performances of mine, of hers, they must have brushed. But I suppose as actors, you do your work, and after that, the moment you're out of it, you are what you are. I mean, those are characters that you're playing. You don't change yourself as a person, unless something like this, as I mentioned to you, might touch upon you and give you a different kind of experience in life.
Sir, you are from glamour industry and you rule TV like Karamchand, Neem Ka Ped, Office, and then you rule Bollywood and you do theatre also. So what difference do you find like in working over there and there is no retake here, and here whatever you have to perform at one shot. So what difference you find, and like which one you find the better for, that's your perspective, And so far in your career, what's the best character you think like you have played and which you like most?
Actually, you've come just a bit late because all these questions have been asked and I've already answered them. But nevertheless,
I can see the video.
yeah, nevertheless, as I said that to me, what is my love is acting, whichever medium it might be. Yes, there is. We are rightly saying that there is no sense of a retake in theatre, so you have to work differently towards it. But even when you work for a film, you're not expected to expect a retake. You're supposed to, from your point of view, do your best even the very first take that you're giving. It's a question of, because a lot of technicality is involved in cinema. Sometimes the focus could be out, sometimes the trolley movement could be not right, sometimes the frame finally made is not right, sometimes the sound is not right, sometimes the director is expecting a different composition which has not happened. So the retake is not necessarily because of your performance. But you have to be used to it. You have to be used to the idea of that I have to perform it again because my director wants to do so. So from that point of view, yes, these are two slightly different mediums. But as far as prepping for a given role is concerned, I suppose for both the mediums, the preparation towards a given character from an actor's point of view remains the same. You put in as much as is required to be done for either of them. Yes, on one hand there is this thrill of not being able to give a retake. On the other hand, you have the luxury of giving a retake but not knowing, because a particular thing is being done over a period of few months, as to whether you are in the same line with things or not. Whereas on stage, once you have entered and you have started the work, you stay in that same state of mind and etc. till the very end. So both the mediums have their own difficulties and their own plus points. As far as favorite role is concerned, I've already said that to a father, all his children are, he loves all his children, etc. So for me, I'd like to be looked upon, I repeat, for the sum total of my work that I do, not a single individual performance. And it's for my audience, for my critics to find out as to what they find good or they find objectionable to the various jobs that I might have done as an actor.
So do you think, like, is there any role you wanted to play and so far you didn't get a chance to play that role?
Oh, lots.
Hundreds of them.
So many of them, I can't tell you.
See, we are greedy actors. We're looking forward to more things to come our way.
Yeah.
We are not easily satisfied with what comes our way. We are greedy. At the same, having said that, we are also grateful to the Lord that not many people can get the opportunity to do the kind of roles that were offered to us by the producers and the directors. We are really grateful to all those directors and producers and to the God Almighty for giving us that opportunity to be able to address those roles.
So when are we seeing you together on screen or on stage?
Well, I think pretty soon, at least on stage.
Yeah, that would be
pretty soon. Yes, because Theatron has just started. This Dopaihari is just first, as I said. The reasons also have been discussed. This is the first production that we're doing. Obviously, this is just the first one. So after that, we would like bigger productions to be done, different kinds of plays to be done, different kinds of dramatic readings to be done. We might even address musicals at some point from now. So it depends on, we'll all sit down after this tour and see what is the next production that needs to be done.
Please come back to Seattle.
We would love to.
We'd love to.
We'd love to. It's a beautiful place and I see some very nice faces
We've also
here.
been invited for a holiday here.
Yeah.
Where's Rohit gone, huh?
Alright, I think everybody's excited to take a pictures with them.
Yeah, please.
Do you think it's about time?
Yep.
Yes. What do you think, Christie?
Sure.
Allow me to. I just want to sum up by repeating what I've said earlier, which I think is extremely important, especially for the audiences in the United States or the State of America. Dopaihari is a novella reading, which has been presented on stage with certain touches of theatre and using some theatre techniques, which means using some lights and music and some movement. So please communicate this to the audiences that when they come to watch this tomorrow, they must be prepared for a dramatic reading experience. And it is not a song and dance. Okay?
Yeah, we'll come
And if
back
they-
with the song
yeah.
and dance.
And if they hear, if they understand the language, please stay on to understand what the story is. I personally feel that everybody would be able to very easily relate to it. All right? Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Give us just a moment. We're gonna move these tables away, and then if you want, you can queue up, and Mujali will take your photos. And I hope you enjoy this. So we'll be. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll after that we'll have the food, and we will be posting those photos. We'll get them to you via Facebook, and I can send an email link. So, thank you.